So this is a continuation, actually, of the CBS Day 2024. Yesterday, we had a fantastic day. So this is actually a formal part of the ASABE annual international meeting, session 103, CBSI sponsored Opportunities and Challenges in Circular Bioeconomy Systems. So I'm the moderator, Casey Ting from University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Let me go through a few slides to introduce the session. So we'll have, I was given 10 minutes, but my 10 minutes was over 8 minutes ago. But anyway, so I'll go through some very few slides to just set a stage for this. It's called panel discussion. Actually, it's a mixture of 4 presentations plus panels. Okay, we do have time today to do that. So we'll after 10 minutes, we'll move to the first speaker, and I'll show their names later, and the second speaker and third speaker. Every speaker will have 30 minutes to make a full presentation, and then hopefully we'll have, I think we'll have some time for some panel discussions after 11:10, before noon. We don't have to use up all the time, but if we need, we have that. Okay, the first slide I'm going to show is systems of systems. When I walk around, people start to label me as a systems of systems person. I don't know how I got that reputation, but it's a good name to have anyway. So we're talking about CBS, okay, Circular Bioeconomy Systems. I'm a very simple person, so I don't use fancy slides. Okay, I just show schematic things. All right, so look at that. Most of the time, we'll be looking at full value chain. Okay, and people have different ways of put a whole value chain together. So basically, we have production all the way to consumption. Whatever in between is okay. We harvest, we package, we store, we distribute, we go to sales points, and the consumers hopefully will find them. Okay, and then we look at the whole value chain, and linking all these stages of value chain will be transportation and distribution systems, that many to many, every stage to every stage, okay? And then there's loop closing stages also. Those are very important. Loop closing, waste management, resource recovery, those are the stages to actually close the loop and improve the circularity, okay? And also, hopefully, when we refine, when we efficiently transform materials at every stage of the value chain, production, all this consumption, hopefully through the loop closing thing, many to many, okay, we can not only doing a good job circularity within each stage, also within in between stages, among stages, we use the loop closing thing to do many to many connections. So, and then we also try to intensify the whole value chain, and then of course we are mindful that there will be external factors influencing this scope, okay? And then, in the end, the real purpose is to take the whole scope of value chain and minimize both things, minimize net system input and minimize whole system output. Even if we have to discard, hopefully we can regenerate the environment, no harm to the environment, okay? And the next one is we talk about this a lot, okay? So there are 3 parts coming in. There's a Ellen MacArthur Foundation definition of circularity. They are in red letters: redesign, reuse, regenerate. Those are 3 principles from Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And then ASABE added 2 more blue stages: refine, blue principles, refine and reprofit. Refine meaning we want to do a better job every time we transform materials. And profit, without profit, it's very hard to convince people to actually try to practice the increase of circularity. And personally, being a systems person, I added a 6th one in green called resystem. Okay, resystem, we have to look at all kind of system of systems types and characteristics. Okay, that defines our scope. The next thing is, we had, as you know, probably after yesterday, we had 8 or 9 workshops. And out of 8 or 9 workshops, I think in our particular workshop, we picked up some commonalities among workshops. The things that we have produced very, very good actionable insights through workshops. Those are the outcomes. But we need to put them into actions. So these are examples of actions we can do. We have to define circularity, okay, and be able to measure and through standards or criteria, and we have to be able to measure, and we have to be able to do continuous improvement. Just to measure and take action alone will not be enough. We need to continuously improve what we do. And we have to be mindful. When we put interdisciplinary teams together, the first thing I found out in my personal experience, mission. Without a mission, people don't come together very well. Okay, we have to have mission, and based on mission, we create incentives for people to come together, and we have to show them who benefits. Okay, we have to benefit the people who participate and share credits too. That's another thing. So mission-oriented research development very important. We have to pay attention to human resource development, provide human capitals in the future, whether they come in to work on technical, to analyze economic, social, political factors. Also, we need to develop curriculum, programs, clusters of courses, certification programs. Something was mentioned that we should actually help create a CBS profession and then educate people to go into that profession. That would be fantastic to be able to continue the CBS work. Extension research engagement programs are important. Socio-economic business development programs. See, we mentioned yesterday we need to pay more attention to social program and systems of systems approach, and of course, many more to follow. Okay, we have 3 fantastic speakers. They all look very good sitting here waiting anxiously to come up. So the first one will be Dr. David Jones. Well, I was hoping to be able to read those. There's long CVs, which I actually highlighted them so I can read them, but now I cannot see them, and those are too far for me to see. So if you're interested, we'll certainly share the whole set of slides with you. But Dr. David Jones, I will let him introduce himself and also the title he's going to be speaking. And we have Dr. Kaushalandra Tengi, very close to my last name. You have an extra I, so that's good. So that's fantastic. So you'll introduce yourself and then your topic. And we have Ms. Michelle Wallace as a third speaker, and then we'll do the same. Okay, so I have three of these, and then we can get started. Thank you very much for this part. And then the first speaker, David, this is yours.
All right.
Thank you. You all know how to use this.
Very good. Good morning. First of all, can you hear me okay? All right, I will try not to raise my voice at you. Really glad to be here. Let's get this one going. For those of you that were at CBS Day yesterday, some of this will be a repeat. And I encourage you to go ahead and listen again because you can correct me again. And we will continue to refine this until we get it correct. But the whole idea is, I want to tell you a bit of our history and story about the workshops. And I will also want to take this opportunity to tell a little bit about what's coming for CBSI as an institute for the year and focus some of our activities. And hopefully you will recognize that those are aligned. So we were deployed last year under the title of Working Group 3, and the idea there was, as it says, to develop and maintain partnerships and with professional societies and stakeholders. And it's worth pausing because one of the things you will hear repeatedly is that we need more participants at the table. And those participants need to be from multiple disciplines and multiple roles and professions. So I'll elaborate on that as we go. The team that really led this, you see there, and with myself and Laura Moody in the room, and Brahm Verma and Jim Jones, really took this task on of getting these workshops to take place. So part of our task was to develop this partnership to, as it says there, to create, innovate, and a sustainable circular biosystem. And, this language is awkward for some of us, and we have to pause and really parse that a bit. But this whole idea of circularity is becoming much more normative, and the opportunity to talk about circularity with a common language is growing. But the whole idea, and I'll elaborate on this later with some of Brahm's work and others, but the whole idea is that we want to be able to be more efficient and accomplish the things that Casey said. When we look at professional societies, as you say there, the whole idea is to engage in educating and informing each of us, all of us, so that we can work together in a much better way. So when we start looking at the workshops, what we were asked to do is to, as you see there with the objectives and the impacts that we were hoping to accomplish. And I think for the most part that we did. And we asked the workshops to really do this. And the idea of, the whole idea of trying to develop an action plan. It's one thing to sit around a room and pontificate. It is a different to actually get in the room and say, what will we do? And that's what we were trying to get to. The second is it's not just about activity, but what impacts will that activity produce? And if we're going to have a direction and objectives, and then we're going to have activity and impacts, we want to be aware of the barriers. What will stand in our way? And that was one of the things that each of the workshops did, and then began to look at outcomes. So the goals, in summary, were to look at societal challenges, to make sure we knew the knowledge, techniques, and skills needed to bring about more circularity and a resilient system. Provide this recommendations for building a professional society alliance. Again, trying to build on our strengths and recognition that we need more people and more expertise at the table. And use our strengths and publication and messaging. How do we tell the story and bring others along? And the other is this whole idea of a CBS summit. We think that's a good idea, and we'll elaborate on that more, but the idea is to get other professional societies in the same room with us and start talking about what strengths we bring, what barriers we have, and how we can better collaborate as disciplines and professional societies. And then, of course, we want to identify a lot of connections. So we set about doing this, and Brahm tells a great story about getting funding, and I will let him do that, but this was funded through a project with USAID and the Collaborative Research on Sustainable Intensification Lab from Kansas State University. And the short version of that story is that Vara Prasad and the leadership of this laboratory saw the activities, saw the goals, saw what we were trying to accomplish, and said, that is consistent with what we are trying to do. We want those outputs. And that motivated them to pay for this work. So the workshops that were held, there's the list and the topics. And these topics were not intended to be exhaustive, but they were intended to be representative of the food, agricultural, natural resources system that we could talk about and address. And these workshops were held around the country from March of 2024 through June of 2024. In total, we had approximately 250 participants across these workshops, representing, I'm guessing, about 80 disciplines and professions. And so we obviously tried to live out that idea of being transdisciplinary. The room got me confused, so I did not do this, but let me tell you what I did not do. I did not distribute this sheet. I have them in my chair. I will make sure they're available to you. Sure. Thank you. Really appreciate that. And one of the reasons I'm glad to have them handed out is I don't want you to strain your eyes trying to read that. But let's get to what I think is important is what we consider the definition of success. And this idea of we really wanted to get this global community of innovators, right? That's the who. And then you get to the what. This global community of innovators who integrate knowledge, experience, and perspectives of disciplines and public and private sectors. We wanted to take that integration and have them lead in implementing system-level solutions to advance toward a sustainable circular bioeconomy system. And that's a lofty goal, but that is indeed what we're trying to accomplish. The next thing is in repeating some of what KC said about the definitions or the principles of circularity there. And I will get to the end result. We ended up with strategic themes, and those strategic themes included these transformational initiatives. And these transformations are really what I think about as systems and technologies and gadgets and policies and know-how to advance circularity and advance resilience and sustainable systems. And in many ways, this is what we do on an everyday basis. This is our default activity. But we're not finished there, because the next is to do it in context and develop that network, and develop the network such that organizations and individuals are engaged, and of course beginning with the stakeholders. The other is, how do we change ourselves? And how do we change cultural norms so that we have the attitudes, the behaviors, and the actions that are going to draw partnerships and let us be and live out being a good partner to these organizations. So some takeaways, and KC has already elucidated some of these, is this idea of a stakeholder-centric solutioning. And we'll dig into that in a little bit, but part of this is when we teach engineering design back at the university, we tell our students that we need to know who's going to be using the product. And then we go on and design it as if they don't exist. We can no longer afford to behave that way. So having a stakeholder-centric solutioning is important. And then, as KC mentioned, recognizing this system of systems nature of our circular systems. And I intentionally am repetitive with the word systems, so y'all enjoy that with me. The idea there is that we must recognize that we are not alone in this, and that our solutions are going to act in concert with others. One of the things that we do, particularly as research engineers, is we try to take things and we reduce them to their most elemental. And that's good for analysis, but it doesn't always get to good overall solutions. So we need to be cautious not to be overly reductionist. And then we must embrace the transdisciplinary approaches to research, design, and implementation. And again, this is a drawing that I will credit to Brahm. I'm not sure but when we look at complex systems, on the left-hand side, we think about them as interconnected, and we draw nice pictures like this, but in many ways that is not sufficient, because it's not just that they're connected, it's that they are indeed interwoven. And then it's the hazard, if you will, it's the hazard of a 2D presentation, because they're not just overlapping, they are integrated with each other in a very sophisticated, highly dimensional, time-dependent way. And so the idea is that we need to take advantage and recognize what nature's given us. And what nature's given us is this interwoven, layered together, complex, dynamic system. And embrace that. So, we need to embrace that complexity. This, too, is another example, and this is where I think, I'm preaching to the choir, but the whole idea is that we need to transition from linear to circular. And that's part of our pathway. And part of our pathway in this is not just being able to draw these pictures, but we also have to be able to be challenged to transition from linear to circular with our attitudes, And going back to thinking that a linear system is complicated, a system, but more of a system of systems, instead of connected, interwoven, complicated to complex, disciplinary to transdisciplinary, control, and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is, the term I like, and this slide does it, is that we are in an and economy. We must be able to accept more constraints, more objectives, accept more stakeholders, accept more complexity. That is what we have been called to do. Now, the next part of my presentation is I want to talk now a little bit about 2425 and CBSI. And so the CBSI leadership team consists of a leadership group and then 4 working teams. And I want to talk through each of those teams and how we're organized and structured and how we're going to move forward. I'm serving as chair. Aaron Webb. Aaron, I don't know if you're here. And then Ed Barnes.
Ed's not here.
Okay, and then John Reed is our past chair. We'll certainly be taking advantage of all of these folks. Working Team 1 is looking at systems innovations in CBSI, and you can see that team. Hopefully Laura's in the room, and I hope you recognize those names, and I hope there's some names maybe you don't recognize. And we're going to come back to the asterisks in a minute. Working Team 2 is working on metrics and models and standards, and you can see the team there. And these folks have already been busy working. Team 3, where we look at organizing meetings and collaborations for CBSI. And then Working Team 4, looking at publicizing and promoting CSI. Now, that's the team, that's the titles, it all looks good. So what in the world are we going to do? The idea is that if we are organized with these charges and these titles of teams, we must connect them to these strategic themes, right? And that's going to be part of our challenge, is making sure that how we are tasked is really matching with the strategic themes. So getting the working teams to match there, it may not be pretty for a little while, okay? But each one of these working teams is going to have an impact on each, working teams is going to have an impact on each of these initiatives. And I'm trying to emphasize to you that there's not a one-to-one matching, but there is going to be a guidance on each one of those. So last but not least, as we try to live out these transformational, the transformational initiatives, developing a network, developing cultural norms, what is it that we're going to be working on? One of them is we plan to deliver a summit. And the summit is intended to draw professional societies together. And in addition to professional societies, intended to draw other professions, other working groups, et cetera. And the idea is we talked about this yesterday, but the idea is to get us in the same room so that we can begin to recognize that we do have the same goals, but we bring different strengths and attributes to the table. And then have a willingness to work together in developing those partnerships and teams so that we can lower those barriers to transdisciplinary teamwork. The other key thing that I want to highlight is geographies on that list. One of the things that we recognize is that circularity and sustainability becomes very local. And a lot of the ideas and efforts that we hear about is we need to learn to scale up these systems, which is true. The alternative and parallel is we need to learn to replicate these systems. And so working through that across geographies, social structures, and policies is going to be a major part of this. Standards, of course, is an ongoing effort, and it brings people together, promoting work across disciplines, et cetera. So what I would leave you with is how to connect. And we will have more opportunities for that, but these QR codes are available to learn more about CBSI. So take advantage of that. The other thing is I want to say thank you to ASABE and therefore to you. In this past year, ASABE recognized CBSI as an institute in ASABE. So that was a big deal. The other big deal is that they made it possible for ASABE to have affiliate members. And that's where those asterisks you were saying, those are affiliate members. The short story of that, and we can answer your questions, but an affiliate member is not an ASABE member, but they want to identify and be associated with CBSI. And we think that's going to be a way to encourage our participation and integration with other societies. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to KC, and I look forward to our conversation.
Well, thank you, David. We'll have a panel discussion after all the three speakers, but any burning questions for David at this point that we can address? Yeah, if you have any question specific for David at this point. Otherwise, we'll go. Oh, you have a question. Okay, Jim. Very good. Please, let's remain engaged.
Yeah, Jim Jones, University of Florida. And David, very good start this morning. And I noticed that you had asterisks by some name, but you didn't really say why you had asterisks there yet. And I think that's maybe important to point out.
Yes, sir. The folks that had asterisks by their names, those folks are affiliate members. They are not ASABE members, but they are affiliate members that have chosen to align and identify with the CBSI. Thank you.
David, you have shown all the working teams,
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, sir.
And they have officers.
Yes.
But at what time that the general membership, affiliate members or members can sign up into, those working teams cannot be worked by only officers. We need to recruit members. Just like any technical committee, you have officers and members.
Yeah.
So when are we going to take that next step to encourage people to come into each working team?
Yes, good, very good question. And I was thinking we would do this during the panel, but this is great. We'll repeat ourselves. One of the things that you will be getting from us is more information about CBSI, and also on those URLs, there's opportunities to identify yourself, raise your hand, and let us know where and how you want to contribute. The bottom line is that you may have some things that you recognize we need that we have not recognized. So that's the other aspect of this, is tell us not only I'll do this, but I will do this other thing, and here's how it will benefit us. So
We encourage people to really sign up as affiliate members, also sign up to working teams. And also we are training future officers for working teams. So by joining the working teams, you will become future officers. That's the hope. Okay. All right. Let's move on to next one. Landra. So this is all yours. Introduce yourself first. No, you don't need. You have a mic, right? You don't have a. Oh, you want this one? Okay.
I want to use this mic. Is it working?
He doesn't have his
Your mic
his
is on
mic
the.
off.
Your mic is there.
Not for echo.
Huh?
For the echoing.
Oh, echoing. Well, this is a very big room.
Hello.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Kaushalendra Tingi, and before I start, I would like to thank Dr. Casey Ting for moderating this session. David Jones, my fellow speaker, and Michelle Wallace. And most of all, I would like to thank Dr. Brahma Verma. And yesterday, when we have a 8 o'clock session, I just wanted to tell this to students who are sitting here. I took Dr. Verma's research method course, and I was new to the US and to the US University, and that semester time changed. And his class used to be 8 o'clock. So I was late for the class. But he was a wonderful teacher, and he has done so many incredible initiatives. Dr. Mani has great contribution in my professional life too, and Jim, of course, I have been in contact with him multiple times. So welcome you all to this session. I'm going to talk about some programs that UST and NIFA has.
Advance your slide.
Oh. UST NIFA has on the basically climate change, circular bioeconomy related programs. But before I go there, let me give you some background about my experience with climate change and circular bioeconomy. I used to teach at the West Virginia University, and there I was teaching bio-based energy systems. In that course, I was teaching carbon footprint analysis, sustainability analysis, and basically all stuff related to climate change. And then I moved to Cary Foods, and I was part of one of the 6 members in the global sustainability team. And in that role, that was 2019. And in 2019, Cary Foods, which is a $10 billion company based in Ireland, and their US headquarters in Beloit, they were heavily involved in circular supply chain. And we have been tasked to improve the circularity of our supply chains. To be specific, my manufacturing site was located in Springfield, Missouri. And I took some initiative. Basically, I did horizontal integration of few supply chains to increase the circularity of our supply chain, at the same time improve the sustainability of our manufacturing site. So that was one experience. Then I moved to USDA Foreign Agricultural Service and handled scientific exchanges programs in Asia, Latin America, Caribbean, and West Africa regions. There, at that time, the Biden administration was launching AIM for Climate, and I had an opportunity to participate in the formulation of AIM for Climate program. Then I moved to US EPA to manage, as a lead, to manage technology transfer and fellowships program. And now here I'm at UST NIFA in the Division of Climate Change. And in that role, I'm a national program leader, and I manage several programs that are directly related to circular bioeconomy. And I'm going to talk about those programs in short. So here is a statement that we are supposed to show, and you don't have to read it, but you can take a picture. If you have questions, you can contact the number listed here. In this presentation, I'll have 3 sections. And Dr. Ting, when my time ends, please let me know.
Well, you have plenty of time.
Okay. So I'll give you NIFA overview for those who are not familiar with NIFA. And then I'll talk about some programs related to climate change. And finally, I'll have a few more comments. So in the NIFA overview, NIFA is housed under the Secretary of Agriculture within the mission area of REE, which is research, education, and economics. And under that, NIFA has 4, we are kind of organized into 4 institutes. And one institute, which is Institute of Bioenergy, Climate, and Environment, I'm located in. In this institute, well, we sort of work with each other closely. So our programs cross-cut into all these institutes, whether Institute of Food Safety or other institutes. And then specific to IBCE, where I'm housed in, we have 3 divisions. And I'm located in the Division of Climate Change. Of course, some programs I manage, they fall into other divisions. The way NIFA handles climate change is that we have a climate priority team, and our membership cross-cuts into all these 4 institutes. And through this team, we envision new priority areas, we create new policies related to climate change, and we see how the climate change topics can fit into various themes within the AFRI. AFRI is one of our program. And this team is tasked with basically addressing the administrative priorities and the executive orders and the legislation. For example, the Executive Order 1408, tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad, it made mandatory for all the agencies, federal government offices, to incorporate climate change in their programs. And as a result, pretty much every agency came up with a climate adaptation and resilience plan. The second executive order, which is 14096, not only gave the definition to the environmental justice, but it also encouraged all the agencies to incorporate environmental justice-related programs in their priorities. Just like climate priority team, we have other priority teams that are listed here. That includes workforce development, nutrition security, and market opportunities. And in all these teams, folks from all divisions and institutes participate. So first task of the climate priority team was to write and draft a climate adaptation and resilience plan, which has a few of these items listed here. According to our plan, which is available on our website, you can go and see, our important action items were water quality and quantity, agroecosystem productivity and sustainability, food and nutrition security, resilience to extreme and variable weather events, education pipeline, continuity of operations, which is our internal to USDA, and impact on historically underserved communities. And these priorities set the stage for the climate-related activities in our NIFA priorities. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the investment that we have done on the climate-related activities. The slide that you are seeing on your screen shows the expenditures of our NIFA expenditures on climate science programs. Typically, NIFA is little over $2 billion operation, and of which roughly 60% goes to formula or competitive programs, and 40% goes to non-capacity programs. The slide that you're seeing is only the competitive programs specific to fiscal year 2022. And as you can see on the screen, we spent about $1.3 billion on various projects on competitive side. 3% of those programs have projects have title climate change mentioned in those. And then there are other projects, about 490 of those, which were related to climate. Now, when we try to mine the data, we use and here I would like to mention something very interesting. All our data and projects are available on our data gateway. And you all who get the NIFA funding, you submit in project initiation report. We mine information from those publicly available database to report numbers here. So if you look at the small pie of the slice of the pie, you can see the different funding in the different areas, whether it is clean energy adaptation or United States government climate change research program. And in this slide, we are looking at funding into the by activity. So same funding is divided into education, extension, and research. Most of the funding had gone to the research sector. And the next slide, you see the how that distribution between among research, extension, education changes when it comes to MSI. Our general funding for other institutes is mostly in research, whereas in MSI, most of the funding goes to strengthening, which is education and extension. So there are many capacity programs that fund climate-related work and circular bioeconomy-related work. And I'm going to come there in a moment. To be specific, about 5 of those programs I'm going to talk about. So some programs, these are which fund capacity programs, which are formula funds, which fund climate-related activities are listed here. And then about 31 AFRI programs fund climate science-related activities. Those are listed here. So I'm going to talk roughly about 5 programs. And I'm going to talk about the first program, which is probably the most interesting to you all, and it has significant component of the themes that you have mentioned in your circular bioeconomy systems. So AFRI's SAS program, Sustainable Agricultural Systems Program, is a flagship program, and it accepts integrated projects only. Each grant is about $10 million, and this program promotes the sustainability, promotes the sustainable supply of abundant, affordable, safe, nutritious, and accessible food and other agricultural products. And the key, there are multiple things that you can go into RFA and look at, but I want to mention a few key items here. One, this program is specifically transdisciplinary. And second, this program has systems approach, or system of systems, as you can say that. Since the project submitted into this particular SAS programs, it integrates knowledge from different scientific disciplines with relevant stakeholder and community members' participation to address societal changes. And all these issues, since they need close collaboration, they are not done in isolation. Therefore, this transdisciplinary nature and systems approach is key to this program. Under this program, we have few areas to look at. And those areas are listed on this slide as nutrition sensitive, climate smart agriculture. First is local and regional food systems, nutrition sensitive climate smart agriculture, and nutrition security and diet related health disparities. Now, the local and regional food system area invites application with strategies to develop shorter food supply chains for nutritious food that are equitable, culturally appropriate, and compatible with community needs. And the second area within that is nutrition-sensitive climate-smart agriculture. It must develop, implement, or enhance our understanding on how to promote productive, profitable, and nutrition-sensitive climate-smart production practices that increase the return on investment for farmers and producers. And how it can mitigate economic losses, reduce food loss, and waste, particularly among underserved farmers. So this program is specific to food and nutrition. Another one is nutrition security and diet-related health disparities. It must develop, implement, or enhance our understanding on how to develop innovative approaches and to address equitable upstream societal determinants of health with emphasis on fostering connections with sustainable agriculture systems. And these systems must integrate robust partnerships and efforts led by or with a strong representation from underserved communities. Likewise, the second priority of the SAS is strengthening bioeconomy through sustainable bioenergy and bioproducts, resilience and robustness of food and agriculture systems, and regional resource hub partnership. And again, under this, we have three areas listed here, and you can probably read that. So the and please note that there's going to be key difference between this bioeconomy program within the SAS and bioeconomy program that I'll talk within the AFRIC foundational and applied sciences area. And the difference will be that this program in SAS is transdisciplinary in nature, whereas the one in the foundational and applied sciences, I'm going to talk a few minutes from now, doesn't have to be transdisciplinary. And this is the second area. Under this, where am I? Okay. So under this, one has to develop innovative approaches that increase the adaptability of bioeconomies to climate shocks. Innovations in community-based local and regional collaborations are appropriate topics for this. And anytime you have any idea, I strongly suggest that before you put down a whole proposal, reach out to the point of contact listed on the RFA, set up a virtual meeting, and have discussion. And in that way, the point of contact can clearly mention whether or not your idea aligns with the program area priorities. And that's something I have seen not everybody does. The next one in this category is regional resource hub partnerships. And under this, USG and NIFA is collaborating with the US Department of Energy, Clean Fuels and Products hubs. And basically, under that, the idea is to advance development and commercialization of low-carbon bioenergy and bio-based products. Now, these RRH, in short, supports research, development, and deployment of purpose fully grown energy crops. Some of this piece of information you probably have heard from the Mark Ellis, our Department of Energy colleague, yesterday. And the last category in this SAS priority is climate-smart agriculture and forestry through greenhouse gas mitigation, markets, and socioeconomics, and regionally appropriate climate adaptation and resilience. There are only two programs, this one within SAS, and the second I'll talk about later, which entertain the forestry-related projects. This project is aimed at reduction of greenhouse gas emissions to 50% of the current rates by 2030 and achieve net zero emissions from agriculture and forestry by 2050. And the last one is about the improved market opportunities. Under this, opportunities exist in various forms as listed on this slide. And the SAS program also entertains proposals that basically expand on market opportunities for bioproducts and bioenergy-related materials. One last point I would like to mention before I move on, that the regionally appropriate climate programs should develop resilient agricultural rangelands, aquaculture, or forestry systems that can adapt to climate change while considering incremental climate changes and extreme weather events. There's going to be one more program on extreme weather events that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. So SAS program is a transdisciplinary program, and yesterday, few of you had mentioned the transdisciplinary nature of the CBSI. So SAS fits very well in there. Now I'm going to talk about few programs which have climate change inbuilt there and which are very lucrative to the research faculties who want to work not in transdisciplinary mode, but in their own mode. One such program is soil health. Now, again, when you think you are not sure where your proposal fits, in what program area, please reach out to the national program leader, and we will clearly articulate and let you know whether or not your proposal will fit. The soil health is specific to soil. Your research does not go out of the soil in this particular situation, let's put it that way. And it funds for projects that advance scientific understanding of soil processes, and there are 3 priority areas for FY24. The first is to advance understanding of soil physical and biogeochemical processes and interaction. The second is development and adaptation of models, decision support tools, and new management conservation practices. And third is improve overall soil health and resilience and sustainability of agricultural production systems and ecosystem services. Ecosystem services is one item that will come up over and over. And yesterday I was talking to Dr. Jim Dooley, and I was trying to mention to him about how there's an opportunity to develop science to quantify ecosystem service-based credits that could benefit landowners and farmers. And funny enough, Dr. Dooley mentioned that about maybe 20 plus years ago, in one of the forestry programs, they had been trying to see how the ecosystem services credits can be monetized to benefit landowners and farmers. So lucky enough, we are back into the same circle, and you will see this word ecosystem services over and over again. The second program in this FRE Foundational and Applied Sciences is A1414. And this is the program that I manage currently. It's specific to sustainable bioeconomy through bio-based products. In this program, I will show you the priority, but it focuses on enabling the bioeconomy through the development of biomass systems. These systems can focus on production of bioproducts or production of bioenergy or biopower. But they should do in a manner that reduces adverse impacts to the environment. Now, the bio-based products can improve profitability, productivity, circularity of the existing agricultural production systems and industrial processes. So please note that word there. And I think this slide mentions really all that item I mentioned here. So you can have a look at the slide, and in a few seconds I'll move. There are three priorities, actually 4 priorities set for FY24. The first priority aims at new or improved strategies to develop bio-based products. Strategies that would improve product functionality, increase potential revenues, and or reduce cost over incumbent products. This include addressing supply chain challenges. And that's the key word. People generally overlook that part. This priority includes addressing supply chain challenges. When you talk about supply chain challenges, that includes the circularity. The second priority is to develop strategies and approaches for scalable biomass systems that provide beneficial ecosystem services. Now, some examples of ecosystem services are carbon sequestration, improved water availability and quality, improved life cycle emissions, nutrition use and reduction, wildlife and pollinator habitat enhancement. And the last priority is to develop strategies to alleviate technical and economic barriers that improve consumer attitudes towards bioeconomy, and that strengthen the rural economy through new employment opportunities. Please note, and this is important, that under this program, we do not fund projects that lead to food or feed product development. This program is specific to non-food and non-feed. The other program is very broad, and this is another program which entertains projects related to forestry, is sustainable agroecosystems. I manage this program also. Under this program, 14 program entertains integrated applications. This program entertains research applications. And under this, we welcome research projects that improve health, productivity, and output of ecosystem services in managed production system. That's the key word. You can have managed production systems of croplands. You can have it from forests. You can have from rangelands, from a specialty crop system, but it has to be managed production system. Now, various stresses affect these systems, including climate change, pests, pathogens, invasive plants, and other environmental pressures. These stresses not only affect the health of these systems, but they also impact the output of ecosystem services, ecosystem services. And there are 2 priorities set for this program. One is to develop new approaches that significantly increase ecosystem health and resilience, particularly in response to climate change, along with the output or value of one or more than one ecosystem service. And you will hear this word over and over. Technically speaking, carbon sequestration is one ecosystem service. Climate change mitigation is one ecosystem service. Groundwater recharge credit is one ecosystem service. Nutrient cycling benefits is another ecosystem service. So we are looking at those ecosystem services in this. The second priority is to improve connection of ecosystem health to manage systems productivity, functionality, socioeconomic viability, biodiversity, and sustainability or resilience. The next program is managed by my colleague Adam Wilkie in the Division of Climate Change, and the program is related to environmental justice. Under this program, the idea is to advance environmental justice to mitigate the disproportionate impacts of climate change on communities, on historically underserved or overburdened communities. There are 3 priorities listed for this program. You can have a look at it, and if you are interested in this program, please feel free to reach out to Adam Wilkie. And the last program I have on my record is 1712, which is rapid response to extreme weather events across food and agriculture system. The good part is the applications for this program are invited on a rolling basis. So you can submit anytime you have the event, you want to address the adverse weather event related impacts. Under this program, the proposal must address the effects associated with the extreme weather events or disasters. The program priority is designed to rapidly deploy strategies and fill knowledge and information gaps. It is intended to focus on our food and agricultural supply chain and all the people who support them. Under this program, there are a few focuses, and you can look at the focus areas on critical and urgent solutions in rapid responses to disaster impacts. And obviously, the program focuses on short-term deliverables, and it is specific to geographic scope, which means wherever disaster occurs, your project should address that geographic area. And it captures not just the ecosystem resilience, it also captures food safety, nutrition security, agricultural commodity security, and health and well-being and safety. So it is very important that you communicate with the respective point of contact. I notice sometimes people are hesitant, and then proposal comes, and we just decline the proposal because it does not align with the program area priorities. We do pretty much 2-3 virtual meetings every week with the resubmitting proposers or the new faculty members. So feel free to reach out to us. Now, one last piece of information I want to put is how do you know which program you can put your proposal in. To find the program, go to google.com, search for USDA NIFA Data Gateway. When you will do that, you will end up on a page like this. And there you can search some keywords related to your idea and topic, and it will throw all the projects that have been funded in past, not just by NIFA, but throughout the USDA. And then you can shortlist projects for NIFA and other things. Here's the QR code. If you are interested, you can take that, and that way you can mark it on your phone. But we strongly suggest, and oftentimes we direct the applicants to this website to figure out which programs their idea might fit. So again, thank you very much. And for any specific information, please feel free to email the point of contact in the program you are interested in. You can email me directly. I will be happy to redirect your email to the respective faculty, national program leader. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again in the discussion.
Thank you very much, Kaushalandra. And do we have any questions for this speaker regarding the, I think this is very important for early career faculty members, trying to, I still remember that, trying to find right place to find. Yes, Xing. Hongwei.
Yeah. Hongwei Shin, University of Tennessee, thank you very much for the information. Rapid response program, particularly on the extreme weather. In the past, I think USDA also rapid response to any natural disaster, for example, HPAI. And I was just wondering if you, because that's a challenge right now, or we're facing some of those throughout the state, the avian influenza jump from avian poultry to dairy, right? So those kind of programs, wondering if you continue that, because years ago, when I was at Iowa State, we get one of those, but we could not find that right now.
So regarding rapid response program, I directly don't manage that program. What I suggested, please reach out to the respective national program leader, because I do not want to spit out the information which is incorrect.
Okay. All right.
But if you have question about the programs that I directly manage, I'll be happy to sit and talk about those.
Okay, thanks.
Great. So I have a short program. What's the most appropriate way to contact a program officer or program leader? I was always wondering how a program leader or program officer can really help the proposal writers.
Sure. So how to contact a national program leader? In the RFA, on every program, you have points of contact, which is national program leader listed there. Email him directly. And copy to all of them who are listed there. And then what I strongly, when I get first email, I ask them to give me one-page write-up. In that, after reading that write-up, if things are clear to me, I can say, okay, your program fits in our priorities, please feel free to submit, or if you need further discussion, set up a virtual meeting. Then they set up a virtual meeting with us, and in that, I ask them to basically narrate what their thoughts are, and then help them understand how their program relate or does not relate to our program area priorities. I also let them know how the panel works and how the proposal will be reviewed if they submit. So once they have that whole understanding, we do not tell what they should propose in their project. That's beyond our job chart, but we do definitely help them by posing specific questions that will make them think in a way that they can craft their proposals to our priorities. If we think their proposal does not fit, idea does not fit, then we ask our fellow national program leaders in other programs. For example, a few days ago, we were talking about to a new faculty member, and in first shot, I realized it does not fit into 1451 program. So what I said, you know what? It's a brilliant idea. It's something where NIFA would fund, but not through a 1451. It's a better fit to soil health program. In that same meeting, I poked my fellow Sandeep Kumar from soil health and brought him into the meeting. And in real time, we discussed and we agreed that, okay, you can fit into the soil health program. So those discussions, informal discussions, are very helpful, especially to new faculty. And also, if you are resubmitting, then we can help you understand the panel summaries and reviewers' comments and how you can address those things.
Okay. Well, thank you. So our next speaker, I'll help you advance the first slide. So it's Michelle Wallace on ISO circular economy standards and the circular bioeconomy. So you're going to explain to us what's the difference between circular economy and circular bioeconomy. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Wallace from Cotton Incorporated. I'm the Director of Sustainability Standards Development at Cotton. I've been there for about 24 years now, and the first 20 years I spent in product development and implementation, so hope you'll welcome me. I'm actually a textile chemist, not an engineer, so I spent 20 years doing product development on dyes and finishes and that sort of thing. The last 3 years I've been working in the sustainability group with Dr. Jesse Daystar, and I've focused on standards. For the last couple of years, I've led the U.S. TAG, or Technical Advisory Group, for the circular economy, which is ISO TC 323. And we'll get into the presentation now. Just a quick slide on Cotton Incorporated. For those of you who don't know, it's a checkoff program, and its mission is to increase the demand and profitability of cotton through research and promotion. We work from the farm, the production of cotton, all the way through the supply chain, development of apparel and nonwovens and other non-traditional products, and all the way into retail and to the consumer. So we work with fiber, product, consumer, and let's get into the circular economy. Some of these slides I'm going to flip through pretty quickly. I don't want to get into explaining ISO. Probably a lot of you know ISO is an independent organization developing standards. Global economy. Right now we look at the economy as being a take resources, make products, use, and then dispose of those products sort of economy, or a linear economy. And then we're not really considering how we're going to replace those resources or maintain the environment when we do that, or looking at how that impacts our social economic system. So one approach to resolving those problems is to evolve that linear economy to a circular economy in which resources are conserved by maintaining their value and then sharing through the socioeconomic system and improving the ecosystem. We want to recover those resources as much as possible. This diagram that you see shows how we can take various actions to enable the different stages to continue the availability of resources and products moving through the circle in various ways, as well as options for obtaining the function that we desire without creating new products or using new resources. So something like the sharing economy. If we need something, do we need to create a new product? Can we possibly find another way to use a product that's already created by sharing? Or another thing might be repairing and reusing a product that we've already got. Different things we need to think about before we even think about making a new product. So the first thing, the TC that I talked about, 323, we had 100 countries participating in this TC. It's one of the, to me, one of the biggest outcomes of the project was having so much participation, such broad participation through a lot of different liaisons. We had 19 different other organizations participating. So yes, in some ways it was a consensus standard. Just like any consensus standard, there are good things and bad things about it, but we had really, really great participation. Not just people signed up and were on the list, but people were participating in work groups. Some of the meetings we had online, because this started, during COVID, incredible to have, 50, 70, 80, 90 people, trying to talk about something online. It was overwhelming at times. So answers for the circular economy. So we have a family of standards. It's the 59,000 family. 3 of these standards were published in May of 2024. We have 59,004. It's the basic vocabulary of the circular economy. It also has the principles and some actions that are examples for the circular economy. 59,010 talks about the transition for businesses, and then 59,020 is metrics for measuring the circular economy. $59,040 and $59,014 are still in development. These 2 are supporting standards. 59,040 is actually right now out for FDIS ballot, and that ballot ends about mid-August, I think, or second week of August, something like that. So it should be out a little bit later in the fall. Should be available for publication. 59,014, oh wait a minute, nope, got that backwards. 59,014 is out for FDIS right now. 59,040, they're still working on the DIS comments. They've just about finished those up, I think. So probably we'll go to FDIS later this fall, and we'll have a vote. Maybe by the end of the year, we'll see the vote finish up and publication beginning of next year, but it's a little bit behind the others. So, okay, so to dig into them, 59,004, here we got the first definition for a circular economy. An economic system that uses a systemic approach to maintain a circular flow of resources by recovering, retaining, or adding to their value while contributing to a sustainable development. And then there's two notes. Resources can be considered concerning both stocks and flows, and the inflow of virgin resources is kept as low as possible, and the circular flow of resources is kept as closed as possible to minimize waste, losses, and releases from the economic system. So, a couple of important things to note here. It's a systemic approach, so the whole system needs to be considered. And we're talking about sustainable development. It took a lot of work and consensus to get to this point, but a couple things. One, in the US tag, we did have issues with that second note, just saying that virgin resources have to be kept as low as possible. We did think that sometimes you need to think about whether resources are renewable or non-renewable, and whether those resources, you might need to use a little bit more of renewable resources, virgin resources, in order to prevent the use of non-renewable resources. So we'd like to see that changed, but that's not the way the definition ended up, so just putting that out there. And let's see, oh yeah, the diagram. So as we've been talking about, different people have mentioned a system of systems. Some other people may have had some better pictures. David, I like it that you got yours from somewhere else, but this is what's in the standard. So we have an economic system that's embedded in a social system, that's embedded in an environmental system, and all of these systems interact with each other. So that's the way we drew it up. There are 6 principles. Amazing that we also have 6 principles, even if they aren't exactly the same 6 principles that you guys have. So first principle, systems thinking. And even though it just says adopting a long-term approach there, it's actually a little longer than that. Organizations take a life cycle perspective and apply a long-term approach when considering their impacts on environmental, social, and economic systems. So that first principle, systems thinking, is really related to those 3 systems again. The second principle on value creation. Organizations recover, retain, or add value by providing effective solutions that contribute to socioeconomic and environmental value and use resources in an efficient way. The third one is value sharing. Organizations collaborate with interested parties along the value chain or value network in an inclusive and equitable way for the benefit and well-being of society by sharing the value created with the provision of a solution. So, key thing there is solution. We kind of changed things up when we talked about solutions. We talked about products and services a little bit differently in this standard, something you really have to read in the definitions. So let's see. Fourth one is resource stewardship. Organizations manage stocks and flows in a sustainable way, including by closing, slowing, narrowing resource flows to contribute to resource accessibility and continued availability for present and future generations, and to reduce risks associated with dependence on virgin resources. And the fifth one, resource traceability. Organizations collect and maintain data to enable tracking of resources through their value chains and are accountable for sharing relevant information with interested parties. And then the last one, ecosystem resilience. You contribute to the regeneration of ecosystems and biodiversity. So, pretty big statements there we have for principles. And then in the actions part of that standard, these are just examples of actions that people can take. They're not, in any case, mandatory or ideas that you have to do. Again, just they're described across the value chain as things that can support these 6 principles. Starting with the R words, of course: refuse, rethink, source, reduce, repair, reuse, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose. And then we added some things like cascading and sourcing: remine, recycle, recover energy. So, yeah. Then in 5910, we talk about business models and how some of this is repeated from 59,004, but getting more into how businesses will do these actions in their transitions and in their value networks. And then in 59,020, we talk specifically about metrics. There are only a few things that are mandatory in these. This standard has the only mandatory items. And the only things that are mandatory in this standard are the measurements of inflows and outflows. So your resource inflows and your resource outflows must be measured if you're going to use this standard. Then there's some other things that you can measure in this standard. And then it's suggested to also assess your sustainability impacts if you're going to measure things. You also should look at energy and water and your economics. So not just looking at environmental indicators. I was asked in a previous presentation I did about social indicators. There's nothing at this point about social indicators in here. That was very, very hard to talk about, and so no, it was left out. As I mentioned before, we've got 59,040, which is a product circularity data sheet, which hopefully will be coming out later this year. We also have 2 technical reports with case studies on circular economy that should be published soon. And then 59,014 is in FDIS right now, which is final draft international standard stage. Okay, now we're going to get to the real fun stuff for the bioeconomy. I'm glad David explained the working groups and all of that, because so we had a working group that's been meeting for, I guess, 9 months or something like that, working group 2, or yeah, I think it was, that was looking at metrics. And one of the things we did was look at these 3 standards, and we looked at how the bioeconomy was addressed in these standards. And this is a summary of what we discussed in these, what was in these 3 standards that were published, nothing from the other 2 that are still under development. So if you look in these standards, some of the things you see, ecosystem resilience is an obvious thing that pops up. It's one of the principles. There are some things that are discussed in the standards about remediation, about biodiversity, climate change, and ecosystem services are all things that obviously in the bioeconomy are important and need to be a part of the standards for circular economy. And so there's some overlap there. Design for circularity is one of the action things that's in 59,004 and 59,010. We talk about a systems perspective. It's also something in the bioeconomy that needs to be considered. I'm not sure how it's been addressed at this point in the bioeconomy, but durability and recovery are things that the bioeconomy needs to incorporate when it looks at designing things for circularity. It's something, the recovery piece is especially important because in the standards we talk about how to separate and keep track of things that are organic in nature that will need to be recovered and maintained in a certain way in order to be able to continue to use them, and keeping things that are like plastics or contaminants out of them. Cascading of bio-based resources is something that's in 59,004 and 59,010 that specifically addresses that idea of what are you going to do to keep bio-based resources in the loop, so to speak. Whoops, sorry. To keep them being used because you're not going to recycle or, you know, that sort of thing with a bio-based material that's degrading in the nature. How are you using it in the next life, so to speak? So what are you doing? You know, is it carbon storage? Are you digesting it? Are you using it for energy recovery? Composting, these are things that are actually mentioned in the standards. And one of the things that we talked about in the working group was, you know, making sure that we didn't have issues with land application, for instance, and putting things onto the land that maybe weren't helpful or created problems. So those things need to be, we need to take learnings from this area into the standards to make sure that we don't put things into the standards that would cause problems later on. One of the things that came out of the standards that is definitely needed in the bioeconomy is more life cycle inventory data. Like I talked about in the metrics piece, LCA, you need to look at the sustainability aspects. It's not required at this point to look at the impacts on sustainability, but it's definitely one of the options for how do you do that is life cycle assessment or TEA, or there's different options listed in the standard for how you measure those impacts. And so more data from biological processes, bioeconomy, regionality is going to be very important. And how do we communicate that? And then the socioeconomic metrics, there's some things in the standard possibilities in 5920 for, like I said, economic, how do you measure? There's TEA and things like that. And so you need that data from the bioeconomy so that we can measure those things. And then last thing, 3 bios. Biomimicry, the bionetwork, and the bioeconomy, all 3, I think we need to incorporate those things into the standard, and we need more things from the bioeconomy and principles from biomimicry, and all of those need their own pieces into the standard. There are some people who think about, for instance, circular economy is just recycling. It's not true. There's a lot of other pieces to circular economy, but we need to incorporate all of these other things from the bioeconomy so that people can get the idea that, yes, biological things can participate in the circular economy. So we want to make sure we get all those things in there. That is the end.
Great. Thank you very much, Michelle. Do we have any specific questions at this point for Michelle? Sudagar.
This is Sudhagar Mani from University of Georgia. Michelle, fantastic presentation and also thought process on it. Interested to see that you have a working team on circular or bioeconomy. I'm just curious, is there any definition? Because I see that general circular economy, there are non-biological materials, everything included, especially when it comes into bioeconomy, is in a significant amount of terminologies and terms and materials and resources are used. Is there any working group looking at the definitions and terms and elements in those contexts is one part of the question. And the second part is how, for example, CBSI can be a member of one of these teams as an organization, participate on it. I think there's no fees or anything involved into it. Maybe your insight into that would be valuable. Thank you.
Right now, because those standards have been published and the others are almost done, the committee has kind of gone into feedback phase, so to speak. So there will be a survey next year that will allow you to give feedback, but as far as getting involved, you'll have to wait kind of till next year to do that. I would certainly encourage CBSI to consider becoming liaison members of the committee if they want to have feedback. There's nobody right now trying to do anything about definitions. ASABE could certainly, create definitions if they want. ASTM is working on some circular economy standards, and SEN, the Europeans are working on them. So there are others working on, things to fill in the gaps. So, yeah.
So can you explain the bio network a little more?
It was just something we talked about in the working group too. So you'd have to ask somebody on that side.
So it's an in-house type of.
Which Ed asked me to give a plug for people to join. It will be Working Team 1, I think, right?
Yeah.
In the new system.
So how do you identify, for someone who is not working in the standards area,
Yeah.
how do you know what kind of standards will be needed and what will make a good standard?
Generally, they come from industry. People from industry come to us and say, here's a need, or even here's a process or a test or something that we need to have standardized. Okay. So that's the best kind of standard need, not when we say, hey, we thought of an idea for a standard. It's usually better when the industry comes and says.
We have Jim here.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. That was very good. Jim Jones, University of Florida again. You had the nice picture and definition of these 6 principles for the circular economy. And I just looked at that and I thought, well, if we had a standard for circular bioeconomies that we could understand and see if it would be consistent. I mean, the ones that you had there for circular economy are pretty much map into what we have, but there are some differences. And maybe there's some differences really needed for the circular bioeconomy. But at some point, I think it would be important for you or someone who's involved in CBSI to help guide us and make suggestions and maybe help serve as that liaison with some of these standards activities. So I applaud you for what you're doing and look forward to a time when we can take an image that is a standard, ISO or the other standards, and put on our website and say this is what we really adhere to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think having that is a great idea.
Okay.
This is Brahm Verma.
Brahm.
In the ISO 5920, you have core circularity indicators, and you have 5 listed there. It's resource inflow, resource outflow, energy, water, and economics. So what is listed under resource? Because you have separated energy, water, and economics. What else is that resource contain?
What else is a resource?
Yeah, what,
Material inputs and outputs are resources, for instance.
okay.
So, along with energy and water, yeah.
That's listed separately, that's the reason I asked.
Yeah, they're separate lines, but yeah, when you talk resource inputs and outputs, that's mostly about materials.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'm wondering, we talk, I mean, it's obvious the materials are resources, but in the new age, I'm wondering whether information is also a resource.
Well, see,
Human information time,
yes,
space, yeah.
and
Those kind of things are not considered.
see, way we ended up defining it, and I brought up some of these non-physical resources. The way the committee ended up defining it was some of these things are actually listed as services.
Well, services is a very big resource. A lot of work we do are services.
Yes, they're not physical.
Maybe 80% of people in the
products
service business. Yeah.
But
Oh,
even things that are like NFTs
yeah.
or things that are in not actual physical fungible things,
But they are not tangible, but
Not tangible.
But they have economic value and cost.
Yes, they ended up getting listed as the service piece. That's
All right.
the way the committee went.
So we will spend,
That's why I went, you got to read the definitions.
however long you want to stay here, but we open up. Oh, good.
When you all were talking about the protocols and things, I just remembered a report that was submitted to Congress. The title was A General Assessment of the Role of Agriculture and Forestry in U.S. Carbon Markets. In this report, there are several protocols listed that are used by various carbon market, climate exchanges to do the carbon trading, to measure the carbon credits and so forth. And a lot of those protocols might directly or indirectly benefit the circular economy protocols.
So I have trouble hearing things in this room, but maybe it's just me, but that's okay. So was that a
I have
comment?
one more
or-
question.
You have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. So based on my understanding, I believe CBSI is interested in hosting a lot of conferences or meetings. If that is correct, then please know that all of our referee programs entertain conference grant applications. Each application, and we accept them on a rolling basis. Each project is funded for about $50,000. And so if you are interested, submit the letter of intent to the respective program, and we will review, and based on our review, we'll ask you to submit for proposal. And it's not as hard as the standard grant proposals. So, and the second item is, I noticed some new faculties were sitting. I strongly encourage new faculties to submit seed grant proposals. Even though a certain program area priority might list that they like integrated projects, but seed grant projects can be of single function. So you can submit seed grant project for a research grant or extension to a program which is asking for integrated projects. These are fairly, they have a high success rate, and it's good for new faculty. I'm not sure how many postdocs are there, so postdocs applications are also invited, and they have success rate of about 50%.
Ron?
David, I would like you to elaborate a bit more on the value of the affiliate members.
Yeah.
not only to CBS, but particularly addressing the importance of building multidisciplinary teams.
Yeah.
And the second part on that I would like you to comment on is how it will advance the mission and vision of ASABE. How having these affiliate members contributing
Got it.
to the multidisciplinary team
Sure.
and innovating solutions that are going to be impacting the future productivity and sustainability of resources.
Right.
Advance the mission and
Sure.
vision of ASABE.
Right. So appreciate that question, Brahm, to give a chance to talk more about this. It really, I do think this is a big deal for ASABE to allow affiliate members. And it really does, what that allows is our colleagues across multiple disciplines to join in our activities and be fully invested in what we are trying to accomplish. The team members that are leading CBSI, there are a number of affiliate members that are in those leadership roles. And that is an example where non-ASABE members are having a big impact on what we do, how we do, and how we think. And so that is a very much a sea change so that we can, what I like about it is a recognition that ASABE needs to be influenced by other disciplines and leaders in other disciplines. And that is what is being lived out through CBSI. One of the things that's a reality is that the affiliate members that are on this leadership team and beyond, as you might imagine, just in problem solving and team building, they bring so many different perspectives and connections and developing that network that we are, as we try to build this society of societies and profession of professions, they are leading us in that. And so we are in a position to follow them. The second thing is, and it kind of goes to the technical and the standard, is that it is helping us and allowing us, and in some cases forcing us, to look at our discipline and the technologies and the mindsets that we bring to these problems, particularly when it comes to standards, because there are a lot of multiple voices in that standards approach. The next way, and John, I appreciate you getting up because I was headed there, was in the educational space, is giving us the opportunity again and the challenge to think about transdisciplinary education and how we get the disciplinary skills embedded in our students in a transdisciplinary setting and awareness. And so, Brahm, that's a partial answer to your question, but a start.
John?
John Klassen from NC State University. I'm sorry, David, that comment is not going to get me to sit down. I appreciate the standards, Michelle, that you brought to our attention. And I'll note that there's a session in the afternoon, and one of the papers actually talks about how to use standards and in the circular bioeconomy. I want to mention more of a comment or a challenge to those that are actually teaching in our undergraduate programs and other engineering undergraduate programs. I know they do too. We teach to use and we train students to use standards, to go to standards to find information. I think David was alluding to that. And we should certainly include this standard in our undergraduate education programs.
Yeah.
You have any comment, respond?
Yeah, I don't know what kind of programs ISO has to reach out to education, but I know like ASTM, for instance, has a lot of effort to reach out to education. And they're certainly developing standards around circular economy as well. There's a principles for circular design that's being balloted right now, and certainly there's discounts, I think, for educators to obtain copies of ASTM standards for educational purposes in the classroom and that kind of thing. So I think that's a great effort to use them in the classroom. So,
So,
A follow-up, does anybody in the room know what efforts ASABE has in their standards in development or consideration that would contribute to the circular bioeconomy? I'm not part of that community, I don't know, but your comments, Michelle, made me think that somebody should.
Is it on? Oh, hey. Okay. Lori Duncan, University of Tennessee. I'm also the current chair of ASE 16, which is Engineering for Sustainability. So it's a very cross-cutting technical committee. But we have had conversations, I know, with Jim and Bram in the past about how CBSI doesn't really have the mechanism to develop those standards since it's not a technical committee, but we do. And one of the questions I was sitting there thinking about, David, was can the affiliate members, can we invite them into subcommittees to help us develop some of those standards? So right now, back to your question, was we have one standard currently that we're actually talking about tomorrow morning in our committee meeting, making it into ISO on life cycle assessment. But we don't have anything currently on the circular bioeconomy.
Yeah, just simple answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, okay.
and thank you. If I may, just to add to that, I think this is not about affiliate members and such, but the idea is that we want as much input and participation as we can get, and as is appropriate, and each group will monitor that. But the affiliate membership certainly facilitates that and allows that. So I didn't bring this up in the presentation, but one of the principles that we are moving forward with is that, CBSI, how CBSI functions within ASABE is still evolving. And there's a lot of, well, how do we, and we are still addressing and trying to answer all of those. But the principle is that CBSI desires to, and intends to function within the structure of ASABE and align with the councils, the committee structures and such. So to me, this has given us more surface area and more opportunity for exposure as opposed to less. So.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Yeah. Luis? Is that Luis?
Yes,
It's the light.
I'm curious if the panel or anybody in the room, the comment was made on the standards discussion that the aspects of social sustainability or social circularity were bypassed and left out effectively. And I recognize the challenges of attributing our approaches to solving problems to the impacts on our social systems, but I guess I want to hear more about why that was the case. It's not a small problem, and I think if we continue down that pathway, there's going to be a big gap that we might run into. So, thanks.
it's not a small problem, and as I said, there were 100 countries involved, and it ranges from Europe and the U.S. and Canada to Asia and Africa, and then you throw in the NGOs, and there's quite a variety of opinions on how those things should be addressed. And honestly, I just don't think we could manage to get there in the time that we had. And we had a lot of time, let me tell you. Because of the pandemic, some things got stretched out. And just with what we did, we managed to do a lot in the couple of years. There were still compromises made in the environmental side and in the economics and the other things that were addressed. We just couldn't even get to a starting point on the social piece, to be honest. Every time it got introduced, it just was a non-starter. And so, yeah, I'm sure at some point we will get back to it. I'm sure it'll come up in next year's revisions. I just don't know where it's going to go.
Jim?
Hey, Jim Jones again, and David pointed out that CBSI is working within ASABE, but also reaching out to other professional societies, and so it is a new approach in ASABE. It's a new approach for many of us, and so things are still being worked out. One of the things that I want to emphasize again, that David's already said this to some extent, is membership of CBSI. If you go online right now, you can join CBSI if you're not an ASABE member, and everything gets connected. So we have a membership list of those who have joined as a non-ASABE member, and that's there. Unfortunately, in the last renewal of membership from ASABE members, there was not a place on your membership form to tick that you wanted to be a part of CBSI. So we still do not have that list of ASABE members.
Correct.
And so we're still working on that. One of the things that we want to do is to encourage everyone in ASABE and others who want to connect, is to let us know. And we would like to have you not only make sure that we count you in our somewhat non-ideal membership list that we're creating now. It's not automatic now. But we also want you to belong to one of these different working teams. And the working teams will have committees formed. For example, Casey Ting is the chair of Working Team 4 on communications and promotion of CBS and so forth. One of the things that will be a committee on that is a website committee. In fact, we're meeting immediately after this to talk about some of the procedures that need to be done. So I'm just saying this because a lot of the things that will be online and easily accessible and doable later on are not now.
Right.
But we don't want to lose you. So if anyone is interested in being a member, make sure you contact one of us, or David, maybe you have a way of being more proactive than that. But we would certainly want to let people who are here find a way to join if you're an ASABE member or not.
And I'd certainly take that information and certainly echo that when the next opportunity for registration or next time you have the opportunity to pay your dues for ASABE, there will be an opportunity to identify with CBSI. But to Jim's point that I will elaborate is that we are in need of a workforce, and that workforce is to execute the things and the goals that we're talking about, whether it's working with following Casey's leadership on Working Team 4 or working with standards on Working Team 2. The list goes on and on. And so there is a lot of work to do, and we need your help. So.
Thank you. This is Sudhagar again. The question is probably related to the NIFA program. As I'm trying to learn, I think there's been a significant momentum. I think David also brought in the educational aspects, the workforce development aspects. So I know NIFA used to have a higher education grant. I'm curious, with the interest of circular economy and circularity design in engineering and also other agricultural sector to connection, Is there any program or interest at the NIFA level that they could actually encourage workforce development and undergraduate curriculum aspects that emphasizes circularity and sustainability? And of course, you are part of climate change, which is, I kind of see that circular economy is also addressing climate change while you are doing sustainability. Just have your comments or thoughts, or maybe something I missed would be valuable.
Sure. Thank you for that question. Yes, we do have Higher Education Challenge Grant Program, and if you want to submit a proposal specific to development of new educational programs, that would be or certificate programs or major or modules, that would be the right choice, and that program would definitely entertain this kind of concept. When David was talking about workforce, I just remembered that we also need workforce. Because when we get these proposals for submitted, we need reviewers and panelists to serve on panels. So I highly encourage, if you are willing and if you are not submitting proposals in this FY24 cycle, and if you are willing to serve as panelist, which is a wonderful experience and paid experience, please reach out to the respective program area contact of your expertise, or you can just shoot me an email, kaushlendra.tinggi@usda.gov, and we'll be happy to have you on our panels.
Okay, we have, Hong-Wei?
Well, to our NIFA colleague, a compliment about the seed grant. Thank you very much. I think it's tremendously beneficial to our junior faculty, so please continue the program. I talked to Prague on that, so it's great. Secondly, I'm glad to see some of the $1 million grant. So wondering, even for the foundational project, the grant, 650, for example, cost of living, doing business has gone up so much, yet everything we do, CBS as a good example, is interdisciplinary. So we encourage folks to do collaboration. So 650, by the time you take out an F&A and looking at multiple years, so not a whole lot of money to do research anymore or extension. So I talked to Dr. Mister about this. So putting a little bit of plug, a plea here. I know the budget's tight, but it's possible perhaps consider increase the size of the grant in the future, right? So I know we increased from $500,000 to 650. Some of them be 750. Just something to think about, because it costs more to do research program anymore.
That's a good comment. And for seed grant, the purpose is to collect the preliminary data, and that what we have seen based on our experience in NIFA, people who have seed grant, they have more success in getting standard grants because they have that preliminary data. And that I know that seed grants are limited to 300K, but they are also just for 2 years to collect the preliminary data for new, and they can be new investigators who are submitting seed grants, or can be old investigators. Now the second point on the ceiling, most of our grants are now at 750K at the minimum, or $1 million. Now, another component that food for thought for you all, that just for your knowledge, AFRI funding has not changed by the Congress since last few, I would say, years. And that's something you all come and you can talk to your senators and raise that voice. I can't do that. We function within the limits of whatever Congress gives us. And under those limits, the ceiling is now $1 million to 750K and I understand the cost of living and everything. I've been there once.
Absolutely. Well, just a clarification, the $300,000, 2 years is great, okay? In fact, if my understanding is correct, you don't even need to have preliminary data. In fact, that's intended for you to collect the preliminary data, then go after the standard. So what I was referring to really is the standard proposal. Yes, we'll campaign and through APLU, our senators, but once again, if you could, if there's something that a NIFA can do, that'll be very helpful. So. say something. Thank you.
Just to add a little cream on that, if a new investigator submits seed grant, then he or she has added advantage. The new investigator is the person who does not have extensive record of publication, which means no more than 25 publications as first author. That's the limit. And then second is within the first, I think, 3 years of tenure track position. That should be the first tenure track position. And if new investigator submits the seed grant, now that falls into the specific category, and we deal it differently internally. Review-wise, it's same, merit review goes the same way, but the funding mechanism changes. So yes, I probably did not answer a question exactly because some of the things I can't say. Yeah, but other than that, I strongly encourage folks who are new and they have new ideas, want to develop proof of concept, seed grant is better. If you are a new investigator, new faculty members, please consider applying under new investigator seed grants. And I myself had one proposal funded by NIFA, and Dr. Hongda Chen was the NPL in that program. So yeah, any questions, please directly contact us, and we'd be happy to sit with you virtually and discuss how we can better help you.
Okay, I think we are closing to the conclusion of this session. Well, thank you all for being here. We had some confusions of the room assignments, but I think we did well, and thank you very much for all the presenters and speakers. The CBS is actually a CBS was practiced many years ago, and now we became linear to take advantage of increasing quality of lives and economic development. Now we want to make it more scientific and more scalable, scaling up and out with the CBS. And the CBSI, I think ASABE is taking the lead to nurture the CBSI. However, this CBSI should be expanded beyond just ASABE, and we have talked about that. I think you talk about society of societies. That's actually system of systems concept. It's all SOS. So very, very nice. So we need to take system of systems approach to the society of to build society of societies. So I think that will work well. And hopefully everybody in the room, I think you are interested in CBS. You continue to be interested in. You need to sign up as a CBSI member or affiliate member. Also serve as the ambassador. Talk to your friends, talk to your influencer, whoever you have contact with, and bring them into CBSI in some form and shape. And hopefully we'll continue to grow. And so go beyond ASABE and let's develop this organization. It's exciting to always develop a new organization. Okay, thank you all very much, and we can continue the discussion in the hallway, when we meet each other. Thank you all very much again. Thank you.